That little SUV in the red color is the new Mercedes-Benz GLB. It joins the already long lineup of SUVs from Mercedes-Benz, but this is like the missing piece of the puzzle. This is what could be the most important segment that Mercedes-Benz will enter into in recent times. I expect huge numbers coming from this car. Let's check out why. So right at the starting point of the SUV lineup for Mercedes-Benz is of course the GLA, and right at the top is that white color car, everyone's favorite, the G-Wagon. Now if you were to compare the faces of all these cars, the GLB looks quite different, and that is because it doesn't try to look like a bigger GLA or a smaller GLC. It is instead more like the all-new GLS. And because it draws design inspiration from the GLS, it looks slightly boxier than the more rounded up forms of the GLC or the GLA. But there is an advantage. That boxier form also gives it tons of space despite its compact dimensions. Now speaking of dimensions, let me put things into perspective. This is actually a size larger than the BMW X1. Out on the road, obviously it will look much bigger. Here it is looking a little dwarfed in the company of its larger siblings, but it is a size larger than the X1 or the likes of the Audi Q3 and also the Volvo XC40, which also means that Mercedes-Benz could actually price it higher than them. But if they don't, if they price it in the same category as the X1, Q3 and the XC40, this will disrupt the segment. The biggest USP for the GLB is of course a third row of seating. Yep, 7-seater, the only one in its category to get it. The other one are these two screens. Very similar to the high-end cars from Mercedes-Benz, runs the latest software, the latest version of MBUX, and that's going to be one of its biggest highlights because the amount of connectivity options that it has, all the features that it brings to the table, it is something that's going to create headlines for the GLB. What you'll also probably appreciate is the design of those AC vents, and of course they change color as per the temperature of the air that's coming out of it. So the knee room in the second row is actually not that bad. In fact, headroom is also quite good, foot space is also quite good. You don't have to sit in a knees up position. You also get a panoramic sunroof, which means that the cabin is going to feel quite roomy. This one is done up in darker colors, but the red car that we saw outside is done up in lighter shades. So like I said, this is a slightly more sportier version of the GLB. So it's got a diffuser at the back as well, and especially in this color it looks quite sporty. This also happens to be the 5-seater variant, which means that room in the second row is higher than the white car that we saw inside. There are three engine options for the GLB at the moment, all inline 4-cylinder engines. You begin with a 1.3 litre petrol, going up to a 2 litre petrol and a 2 litre diesel. Needless to say, when the GLB comes to India, it will be the 2 litre petrol and 2 litre diesel options that will be considered. Now, all these engines power the front wheels, but there's also a permanent 4MATIC system on offer. So here's the interesting bit. In 2020, the GLB will spawn an all-electric variant called the EQB. It will be based on this same platform. And that's also around the same time when the GLB will actually hit the Indian stores. So 2020, if you're planning a compact SUV and you need a Mercedes-Benz that's not a GLA or not as big as a GLC, then the GLB could be worth your while.